XRP is going to the moon even with all the issues this coin has witnessed throughout the year. Ripple has had a rough year because of the lawsuit from the SEC, but secretly it just so happens that this regulatory body might be hiding something. Since the start of the lawsuit, the SEC has continually refused to hand over the documents that show how they came up with their decisions. More on that in this video. First, let's roll that intro. Hello guys, and welcome to Moneyside, your favorite crypto channel. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way you get updates whenever we drop a new video. And to my Moneyside family, hey, welcome back. Don't forget to smash that like button and comment on the section below. A recent article published on FinanceFeed.com highlights the proceedings in court. The article reads, "The SEC v. Ripple lawsuit has taken several twists and turns, but despite the discovery extensions granted by the court, there is a growing feeling that settlement may be on the horizon." The key date is August 31st, as the court scheduled a hearing with both parties to discuss the privilege dispute that has been dragging on for months. The SEC refuses to hand over critical documents despite the judge's insistence because it claims they are protected under the DPP, deliberative process privilege, which aims to protect not merely documents, but also the integrity of the deliberative process itself. These documents, most regarding the SEC's views on Ethereum, were already found relevant by the judge for the court's eventual analysis with respect to the Howey factors. In other words, this upcoming hearing is very important because Ripple could potentially get some documents that could really help it advance its position that XRP is like Ether. And in 2018, the SEC said Ether is not a security, and therefore XRP is not a security. Attorney Jeremy Hogan explained in a video. According to Mr. Hogan, that triggered a chess match. The SEC has deployed a Queen's Gambit in this litigation, sacrificing its position on the fair notice defense in order to solidify its central position that XRP was sold as a security. Because the judge found Ether's status relevant to the case in the April 6th hearing, the SEC filed William Hinman's affidavit to protect him from being deposed. "My own personal views," he said. The SEC was going to, in a sense, admit to some extent that there was confusion in the marketplace about digital securities in exchange for strengthening its position that XRP was a security. Because if Hinman and the SEC had taken an official position, there would be more certainty for other crypto coins, but in turn, that would allow Ripple to argue XRP was just like Ether, Mr. Hogan said. Still, Mr. Hinman's personal views argument may go into conflict with his statements in 2018, where he stated "we" as in the agency. And by arguing that the SEC took no position on whether Ether is a security or not, it can argue that any comparison between the two is irrelevant. Now, whether that argument works is complicated, but the gambit at least allows them to make the argument. So keep that in mind as we see the next couple of weeks unfold. The judge has recently granted a motion to extend discovery again to accommodate the depositions of the individual defendants, Brad Garlinghouse, September 14th, and Chris Larson, September 20th. This, however, may become irrelevant to the case if the key hearing on August 31st ends in a final blow for the SEC. That is the reasoning of Attorney Hogan based on YouTuber BitBoy Crypto's views. The problem with the settlement between now and November 12th is that the parties won't know how strong each side's position is until after discovery closes. Mr. Hogan continued, showing caution as the SEC is unlikely to settle before knowing the fate of its motion to strike Ripple's fair notice defense. The SEC's Queen's Gambit has put a lot of weight on that motion, and it's still not resolved, and the judge has not told us when she is going to make a decision on it. The litigation has the best chance at resolving when and if the SEC's Gambit fails, he stated. Otherwise, we're still looking at the Ripple case reaching the judge on summary judgment in early 2022. The SEC has been trying to justify their actions to file a lawsuit against Ripple, but in the real sense, this regulatory body is also hiding a lot behind the closet. But with time, I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of this, since the SEC is also running out of time. Once the court case is over, XRP's price will skyrocket to the moon, which means this coin will turn its holders into the next crypto millionaires. Mark Attack XRP also shared a tweet stating, "It's that simple. Cryptocurrencies like XRP are not securities. A security is an ownership share in a company, giving the shareholder an interest in the company and an interest in its profits. But those who acquire or own XRP are not getting a financial stake in Ripple." And that's the honest truth. Anyone with XRPs in their wallet does not have any shares of Ripple. They are simply holding a token that's based on the RippleNet, and its price keeps fluctuating. Therefore, anyone with XRP doesn't have any control over Ripple. That means the SEC is only trying to stall Ripple from completing its mission. Ripple also recently tweeted, up to 25% of adults in the US spend an inordinate amount of their income on high interest rates and fees. The solution? Blockchain. Read more about how it's fundamentally changing the way people interact with the financial system. The tweet included an article that reads, "The number of unbanked and underbanked United States consumers is staggeringly high and will continue to rise as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic." Without full and fair access to basic financial services many of us take for granted, as much as 25% of the adult bankable population in the United States spends a disproportionate amount of their income on exorbitant fees and unfairly high interest rates. When you layer on antiquated bureaucratic legacy banking, many consumers face added indignities, including delays, inefficiencies, and hidden costs that make participation in the broader financial system difficult or out of reach. The solution? Simple, immediate, direct. Enter blockchain technology and digital assets. Blockchain technology and digital assets have the power to fundamentally transform the ways in which and underbanked people interact with the finance industry. Basic financial services will improve, particularly when it comes to receiving or sending funds electronically, from paychecks to COVID-related economic impact checks. Cross-border payments or remittances are also being transformed. Today, they are far more cumbersome and costly for end users than they should be, but the blockchain technology is already providing a more fluid, reliable experience for those sending or receiving money around the world. Currently, there are 70 billion people within the U.S. and an estimated 1.7 billion globally who live their daily lives outside the financial system. For these individuals, routines we sometimes take for granted, paying bills, cashing checks, sending money to family, building credit, are incredibly time-consuming and prohibitively expensive, even if they have enough money to need these services. How expensive? Well, among those with low incomes and low access to basic financial services, it is not uncommon to spend as much as 10% of disposable income on fees and interest comparable to household spending on food and other basic needs. Given the power of new technology to increase efficiencies and reduce costs, these numbers should and could be a lot different. A study from Imperial College London estimates that just a 10% increase in digital payment adoption can bring 220 million people into the formal financial system who were previously underserved or excluded. Fortunately, the overall digitization of our world, from smartphones to digital wallets to interoperable payments networks, is accelerating the shift towards real-time digital payments and an increasing number of use cases that take advantage of blockchain technology. It's still early, but digital asset technologies like XRP are showing tremendous promise. Adoption is increasing, and there is a growing realization that fintech can finally move the global financial inclusion needle. Undoubtedly, XRP will lead the whole crypto community into a new era where fiat and crypto are not on opposing sides. XRP is the bridge currency we've all been waiting for. The only challenge right now is to overcome the current hurdles with the SEC. And that's it. Ripple is also making great leaps by solidifying its partnerships with some of the major players in the fiat world. That will potentially catapult the next phase of this decentralization network, which includes the CBDCs. Once that happens, XRP will be the most expensive crypto to own, and possibly this coin will move back to retail. With that in mind, time now to take a look at the technical analysis. XRP is overall bullish and now retesting our blue support, so we'll be looking for buy setups. Before we buy, we want the buyers to prove that they are taking over again. You don't want to buy a bearish market, right? On this chart, XRP is forming an ascending triangle in red, but our upper trend line is not valid yet. So we are waiting for a new swing high to form around it to consider it our trigger swing. projection in purple. The trigger is waiting for that swing to form and then buy after a momentum candle close above it, the gray zone. Meanwhile, until the buy is activated, XRP would be overall bearish, can still trade lower. Well, as always, remember to trade wisely, guys. Do your research. Please keep in mind, we're not a licensed financial advisor. All videos on this channel are intended for entertainment purposes only. Tell us what you think in the comment section below, and let's have a conversation. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like this video and to click on that subscribe button below. Turn on notifications so you get informed whenever we post our amazing content. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next video.